Stampers, this is Dena from PocketFullOfStamps.com. Thanks so much for joining me. What I want to talk about today is our Stamparatus. I know some of you have pre-ordered it and either you've just received it or it will be coming shortly. And then I know some of you were kind of waiting to see what all the hoopla was about when they're available. These will be available in our June catalog and you will want one. They are really amazing tools. When you get a Stamparatus, it will come with your instruction guide, and I highly recommend that you take the time to read through it. There is some really important things to know in here. In the back, there's also some step-by-step instructions for how to use it. But I want to show you some of those things because for me, at least, it's easier to see it than to read about it. But I do want you to read through, especially the important warnings and things here before you get going with it. When it arrives, you will have this foam plate, which I'll show you what that's good for here in a minute. You'll have 2 acrylic plates. The Stamparatus itself, this is really great because it's got a nice grid here, so it's really nice for lining things up. And on the back side here, you've got 2 magnets, and we'll talk about those in a minute also. When you're using your Stamparatus, if you're using photopolymer stamps, you want to put this foam mat down before you use it. This gives you a little bit more height, which you're going to need for the photopolymer stamps. If you're using our clear mount stamps, then you won't use this foam mat at all. You can't use wood stamps, which is a real big bummer for me because I love wood mount stamps and most of my stamps are wood mount. I will have to be rethinking that now when I look at a stamp set if it's available in clear or wood. Is it something I think I'm going to use with my Stamparatus? Then I'm going to want to buy it in clear. If it's a stamp set that I don't really think I'll use with the Stamparatus, then I will still get my beloved wood mount stamps because those are my favorite. What's really nice about having 2 plates is that the hinges on here allow you to put them on and off and remove them. And if you have 2 plates, it means you have 4 stamping surfaces. So I could put an image on this side, I could put an image on this side, I could put an image on this side and this side, put them all in here, and then I could use them all at the same time. One thing you want to be careful of with having the 2 plates is that you don't want to store them both in their hinged pieces here because this one won't close all the way. See how that's separated there? And if you try to force it, you will break your hinges. So I like to just store mine. I actually don't even store them with the hinges. I just put my hinges on the sides like this when I store it. So that's important. The other thing, if you don't get anything else from this video, please, please, please get this. The magnets are really, really strong. We've already heard stories of a lot of people having their magnets be broken because they accidentally put them together, which I'm going to be very careful here not to do. But when you're using them, you want to keep them separated because they're really strong, and if they snap together, they can break. So make sure you keep them away from each other. A lot of people, including me, are finding that it's really handy to wrap them with a piece of duct tape. That makes picking them up really easy, like that. And on the back here, you'll find they have storage for them, where I pulled them out of. But there's storage here on the back, so that they keep their distance. All right, I want to show you a card using this fun little tool. And let's see. One thing I'm going to do on my card is I just cut a piece of paper that I'm going to put here on the back. When I stamp, I'm actually going to stamp off my paper, and this could be cleaned really easily, but I thought it would be easier just to put a piece of paper down so that I don't get any ink on my Stamparatus. And then I also have heard of people having trouble stamping things right up here in the corner. To alleviate that, I'm just making myself a little little mask here so that I know where my corner is. That way I'm stamping in the middle of my Stamparatus, and I'm not even going to have to worry about this not getting stamped over here in the corner. But one nice thing about the Stamparatus is because it's perfectly positioned, you can, if you don't get a really good impression, you can just ink it up again and close it again and you'll be fine. But this is one way to alleviate that problem also. So I have a little piece of, this is Whisper White Thick cardstock that I have cut to 3 by 3, and I'm just taking my magnets out of the back here. Whoa, see, they almost went together there. That would have been disastrous. Well, then you could have seen what would happen, but we don't want that. So I'm going to put one magnet here and one over here, like that. Then I'm going to take my plate. Actually, I'm not going to take my plate quite yet. I'm going to move this one out of the way so I can move this over so you can see what's going on. Okay, I'm going to take my stamp. My card, the set that the card that I'm making, I'm using the Heartfelt Blooms stamp set. You can earn this set free if you have a $50 order. This is actually a really, really neat technique that they've used to create this stamp. If you look at the image itself, you will see that it looks almost flat. You can kind of see a little bit of the texture now because I've inked it up, but it's almost flat, and to get the impression that you get is just really cool the way they did it. So what I'm going to do is take this stamp and set it down on my paper where I want it to go. Then I'm going to take my acrylic and close it and just press down. And you can actually see a little shadow there. It doesn't look like my stamp got very clean, but the nice thing is I'm going to stamp right over that and you won't even be able to see it. So from here, I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and I actually like to have this off of the Stamparatus when I'm inking it, but you could leave it on there if you're comfortable with that. I'm going to take this, plop it in there, and just press like that. See how pretty that is? Just all that texture. Now, if I didn't get a very good impression, I could ink it up again and stamp it, and it's going to go in exactly the same place. That's what's so neat about these. Now, I could put the other image that I'm going to do on the other side if I wanted to, but since I have two plates, I'm going to pull out my other plate here. And on this one, I'm going to put my greeting. I'm going to do the same thing. Just set it right here where I want it to go. Actually, I'm going to make sure that's flat again. Put that there right where I want it to go. And take my plate. Like that. And I can take my black stamp pad. This time I am going to leave it on there. Oh, hey, you know what? I don't know if you guys can see this, but this actually, what I don't like about leaving it on there is that it leans down, but I just had it kind of sitting on my Heartfelt Bloom stamp set, and it raises it up to the perfect height. So there you go. Okay. Take that and press down, and there I have my image exactly where I want it to go. So I'm going to remove this and set this aside and put together the rest of the card. The next thing I did on here was layer it onto a piece of basic black cardstock. Like that. This is the Berry Burst cardstock. I took a piece of it and ran it through our Simple Stripes embossing folder. Add some adhesive on the back here and layer this on the front. One thing I want to point out about the Stamparatus, if you haven't figured it out already, is that if I were to do 50 of these cards and I had my images on those plates, I could ink them, stamp them, ink them, stamp them, ink them, stamp them, and they're always going to turn out exactly the same. That's what's so great about this tool, is you can do multiples really quickly without having to replace your images every single time. I love that about this tool. I want to add a little bit of sparkle on here. So I'm going to take my Wink of Stella and give it just a little squeeze here. Just kind of add some little bit of flecks of color on, or a little bit of flecks of sparkle on here. I also wanted to add some ribbon. So I'm going to use a little bit of this Berry Burst. This is really pretty ribbon with a silver edge here. What I like to do with ribbon is I flip my card, or flip my piece over on the other side, and figure out where I want this. Put a little bit of adhesive on the back and wrap this around and stick it to that adhesive and trim it. And then I kind of secure it with a little bit of adhesive here on the back also. And then I wanted to add a little bit of dimension here. So I'm going to use a few of the Stampin Dimensionals on the back. And a couple in the middle. Then I can take this and put it onto my card front. And I sometimes like to do this where I'll layer a piece on the same color but add dimensionals to it to give it a little bit of shadow there around the edge. And to finish this off, I'm just going to take my ribbon again and tie a little half knot down here. And trim it off. And there you have a really pretty but really simple card that I could easily make 100 of if I wanted to by using the Stamparatus. So hopefully that gave you a few good ideas. What I wanted to offer to you guys is, for those of you who don't have a Stamparatus already, I want to give one away. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this month is, for every $50 that you spend, you are going to get into a drawing, and at the end of the month, I'm going to draw, and some lucky person is going to win a Stamparatus. A couple things you need to know: when you place your order, you need to use the host code that I am going to give you. I'll put it up on the screen in a couple of minutes here, but I'll also tell you that it is 7R9D6MEC. Like I said, I'll put that up on the screen so you'll know what it is. It is still celebration time, so when you spend $50, you're also going to get to choose one of the celebration sets. And at the end of the month, I'm going to draw the name of a lucky person who's going to get to win a Stamparatus. There'll be more information on the blog that this video is going to be on, so you can look for that. In the meantime, just thanks for joining me for this card quickie video, and I hope that you learned something about the Stamparatus. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my blog at pocketfulofstamps.com. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. Until next time, happy stamping!